All right, the one and only Lord Miles. Welcome to the podcast. Really appreciate you coming on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
So, I want to start this conversation with the typical last question that I ask guests because a lot of people in my audience might not know who you are, and what we're going to talk about might sound pretty crazy to a lot of them. And so, my last question that I usually ask that I want to start with for you is, why do you do what you do? Because what you do is very different than what a lot of other people do. So, what is your why?
Yeah, what is it? I ask myself that question a lot of the time, but it pays for bills. It pays for bills very well, actually, several times over. Who knew that traveling to war zones and goofing off with, on the line terrorists almost kind of pays for bills somehow? Thanks, CIA. No, I'm kidding. And also the sense of great British adventure. I see many people, I used to do the same myself, sitting in cubicles, if they're lucky to have privacy nowadays, wage slaving the 9 to 5 grind set to pay for their hideous wife in fat, cheesy stockings so they can afford the next Netflix subscription and waste their life away in a routine that they never break. They never do anything good. They always moan about life being monotonous and boring. They always long for the school days where they used to, be a soccer player or something. And their life is depressing as hell, and they ended up just shooting themselves with a shotgun at 40 years old, which has happened to a few friends of mine. So for me, I almost die every single month, but it's a bloody good thing because I've never been more alive.
Mm. That is something I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, myself included. Just like that idea of working a job that you hate for the rest of your life, and like a lot of people never actually do anything about it. So to see someone like yourself going out and living life fully is something, or a reason that I think a lot of people resonate with and enjoy your content so much, beyond just all the crazy shit that you do, that it's super entertaining and just captivating in and of itself. But so you kind of see yourself as a modern day like Ernest Shackleton or something like that?
Yeah, I'm just live, love, laughing. So so I looked up T. E. Lawrence. I watched his book. Sorry, I read his book and I watched his movie, and it was incredible, the stuff he was speaking about and these far off lands. To us that seems so close nowadays due to globalization, all this other stuff. But when you actually go there and experience that type of stuff and get a taste of this type of life, you never want to go back, of course. You never want to do the normal life. At the same time, yeah, it involves some risks, but at the same time, that's the best thing about life. It keeps you alive, almost.
And so where was the first place that you went on your first your crazy adventure? Where was the
So
first one?
the first time I went abroad was in Ukraine. I went to Chernobyl before the whole war happened in 2019. So a friend said, "Oh, we can go for a weekend. You can get a day off university because it links into your physics degree because it's radiation. And why not? It's gonna be what, $250? I said, "Yeah, screw it. I'm gonna do that." And at that point, I thought, traveling actually seems quite nice. Beforehand, I just never wanted to go on a plane. I didn't like the whole idea of actually having a holiday. I was kind of wage cooked to my mind almost. And then, as well, after that, it was during the peak of COVID, and I was going into investment banking at the time, and my MD was saying, "Okay, Miles, you're going to be working. You've already done it before, but this time you could be working again for another 80, 90 hours a week for the next year. So, have a holiday before you graduate and do all this other stuff." And I said, "Hell yeah, I will." So, even though it was the peak of COVID, the only country that was open at the time without any COVID restrictions was Afghanistan. And I thought to myself, you know what, this is going to be a perfect holiday. What can go wrong? And of course, nothing actually went wrong. It was a great holiday. But the fall of Kabul happened around me, and I was the last ever tourist in Afghanistan. I hung out with SAS Special Forces soldiers, drinking whiskey as the country collapsed around me. And also I hung out with the Taliban at some points. And then I got evacuated out, and I became famous online because I was shitposting it on 4chan and live streaming it like it was a normal holiday, or I was on safari or something. And to be fair, I dream of it sometimes, and I long for that feeling because it was just incredibly fun. It was incredibly good.
What is that feeling?
Just running, that's very nice. I don't mean kind of cardio down the street doing a marathon. I mean actually just running and there's someone chasing you or there's something going on. It's almost not animalistic, but it's something where it feels like, you know when you see those military advertisements that aren't actually, cringe, the actual cool ones that just have cool guys walking around shooting things and goofing off. It felt like that. So I tried to join the military at one point, but because of COVID, they wouldn't accept me. So I said, oh, screw that. And I've got the same feeling from this instead now. So I'm just running around, chilling with lads, living this crazy adventure. And I thought to myself, I never want to go back to a normal life. And the time went by so quickly. And having the warm sun on your back and on your forehead and kind of eating food as you can go and almost getting shot at and seeing chaos around you. Now that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's living right there.
Yeah, Jude.
Were you always, I don't know, a crazy kid doing crazy shit growing up?
Oh no, I was a teacher's pet growing up. When I was like 16, I went a little bit off the rails, but until then, I would like cry if I forgot the homework, which would never happen. I'm like, oh dear, oh no, it's so over. But of course, we were so back all the time. So I was basically a very safe kid. I did very boring stuff, and I think it's because I never had a father figure, single mother type situation. So I lived a very boring life. And I never traveled, never went on holiday as a child. So I thought to myself, you know what, this is something I'm missing when I got a taste for it.
And then so you go to Chernobyl as your first adventure.
Yes, man.
What inspired to like start documenting it, and like was there a goal like I want to build a brand around doing crazy shit like this, or was it
No,
just
so
like I want to go and then everything
so
else
the
kind of unfold from
so
that?
after Chernobyl, it was just a normal holiday for me. Didn't blow up online, and then during the fall of Kabul, I got so much attention on 4chan because I didn't think Kabul was going to fall, and I just started posting on 4chan, just thinking, oh, I'd love to share this with some people. I'm sure I'm going to get a few likes. I'm sure I'm going to have some funny questions I can answer it. Oh, this is kind of absurd, and then everyone was freaking out. And then slowly it spread to Twitter, and then Facebook and Instagram, and I just became famous overnight. Just this guy's on holiday in Afghanistan as the Taliban are about to take over. And then, of course, news headlines picked up on it, and all my exes were suddenly calling me, saying, "Oh, geez, Mart, I saw your name in the paper." Woo! And a million different things too went on like that. And I thought, this is where the opportunity is right now. So I thought, screw it, I can't get a normal job because if they Google my name, that'll come up. And then I quickly changed my name, thinking I'm going to get a normal job and I'm going to go into investment banking and I'm going to do the wagey grind set. I mean, I sat down with an Excel spreadsheet and I said, okay, if I'm earning, okay, I was going to earn £7,000 a month. I said, okay, £7,000. I'm living in the city centre, so each month take away 50% tax to begin with. And then what? Then rent is 2,000 a month, so take away that. And then I keep going on, and then I realised, oh, I actually have no money left. That sucks. And I realised, how do I actually make money? And then I realised, oh, I've got this thing over here where I've just been at a global international diplomatic incident. Screw it, why not build a brand around this? It could work, and it bloody has.
Yeah, it's been crazy to watch you blow up over the past couple months or years now. But then
Oh,
especially in this past month or so, or
oh
couple
thanks, dude.
months, ever since
You've been there since the beginning, right?
not since the beginning, but since like 2021, so pretty close.
That's pretty much the beginning. That's all good.
Yeah, so very close. Originally came across you from
Oh,
Lewis Roberts,
oh yes, I'm mates with him now.
and Marty Bent, and
I
that's
love
how
Marty, dude.
originally came across you, and yeah, it's just been fascinating to watch the stuff that you do because it is insane, but also just super captivating. And you're a super just interesting guy in of itself because you're very thoughtful in everything that you do, and
What a
but
good
also
joke.
very smart. Yeah, exactly. And so,
Oh, you're a good comedian, my friend.
um, whenever you do, so we'll kind of just circle around a bunch of different things that you have done. So you did the Chernobyl, you did Kabul, you did Snake Islands, off the
Yeah,
coast of Brazil.
as you do.
Most recently, you were detained, or detained
Yeah,
by the
yeah,
Taliban.
Detained. Yeah, for 8 months
um,
that happened.
for 8 months.
Yeah, front lines of Ukraine about 4 or 5 times. That was chill. I don't understand how they keep dying over there. I don't die. Yeah. What else? South Sudan a few times. That was chill. Jumping EU borders just to screw their immigration people because they suck. Stuff like that. Just casually goofing off, you know.
Yeah, just good fun. Good fun with the lads.
Yeah, as you do.
Whenever you're doing all this stuff, are you fearful, excited? Like, what is going through your mind during some of these things?
Yeah, most people say you must be scared a little bit. I don't feel fear at all. Never felt it. I don't know why. It just doesn't click with me. Something must be going on up there. Guaranteed. Definitely no fear. Maybe just delusions of grandeur, if that makes sense, or maybe just a little bit retarded. You know, let's be fair there. I honestly think, okay, well, if I go to this country, I can get XYZ money. I get to go on a crazy adventure. I get to look on a map of the world and go, oh yeah, I've been there. Tick. And I get to document it and see what's really going on and watch history before my eyes. Because everyone reads Wikipedia articles and watch YouTube videos about, I don't know, XYZ global event that happened 50 years ago. But imagine actually being there. And obviously, there's a big risk that I do die before I get to 90. You know, doing what I do. Yeah, fair enough, I accept that. But if I do play my cards right and get to the ripe old age of, grandfatherhood or whatever, I can have some excellent stories to tell. And I kind of envision one day that I have a very, very long Wikipedia page that some YouTuber will read out in 100 years' time going, this guy was fucking retarded. Look at this, ridiculous. But they just speak about it because it's so absurd. I think that's the funniest way to do it. And do you know, I've got no reason to stop, almost, because everything keeps going right. If that makes sense.
Getting detained by the Taliban is going right.
Yeah, I mean, when I was there, I at first I was like, oh crap, it's so over, because I knew it was gonna be longer than a few weeks after a few weeks. And then slowly I realized, holy crap, I'm gonna write my second book, and then I'm gonna make a ton of money after this from podcasts and selling the story, which I did, and doing all this other stuff. And then I realized, oh, it's basically just launched my career even further. So all my followers grew by at least 30%. And then at this point too, I've now got a new connection within the Taliban, which I'm very close friends with at this point. And then I've got this one investor who's made contact with me, and he's very high up in the world. And we're just looking to get 8 or 9 figures potentially for the gold mine that we're setting up in Afghanistan. And it's moving forward. And I'm thinking, holy crap, how is this happening? It just falls into place almost. But these deals do go on, and these things do happen. So I would have never made these connections. And the Taliban guy I'm friends with is very powerful. If you Google his name, it'll come up. It's insane. I think he's eliminated like 2,000 members of ISIS or something, which is very chill. And it's just if you present it as something that innately sounds like a bad thing, like going to prison, you can absolutely turn it into a positive in the long run, as long as it serves you and you deem it kind of worthy for the time and investment.
In your line of work, bad news is kind of good news, unless it's like the ultimate bad news of potentially dying. But
yeah, exactly. Well, then I get to go on the ultimate trip, which is the trip to heaven. That's the ultimate adventure right there. Yeah, dude.
There you go. Then that is why you were originally in Afghanistan this last time, right? Is to open up a gold mine or find a gold mine?
Yeah, we were going to. So there's a few things. One, we would go buy a bunch of Taliban merch and resell it. So I can make bank on that. That's quite good.
There's a big market for that?
Yeah, for some reason, loads of US veterans buy it, which is quite funny. So, and plus, before Halloween last year, we bought up a bunch of Taliban robes and headbands and sold them. And people were just showing me, saying, hey, I'm wearing this outside in Texas, and I'm going up to my veteran's door, my veteran's neighbor's door, go scare him. He has PTSD, ha ha ha. And I would go, wait, where did he serve? Oh, Afghanistan, lol. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I think they were joking, maybe. But there's a big market for it, bizarrely. Like, if I buy up, 1,000 headbands, all 1,000 would sell within 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bizarre like that. And plus, imagine I make a YouTube video that gets 1 million views, and then 0.1% of people purchase something. And that's 1,000 people? 1,000 people, 10,000 people, and then we can make bank that way. It's the ultimate advertising thing. People do want a piece of my adventures, which I get. Because, I watch someone going to North Korea. Well, I love a North Korean pin after watching that video. That's great. And I make it affordable. It's very good. And it funds my adventures. So the other thing we were doing as well is filming a YouTube video. So we were going to do some cool stuff, my friends and I. And the other thing was going to this site that we know I think it's $200 million worth of gold. Because the US did the geological surveys in this area and said, okay, this is exactly where the gold is, how much there is, how to extract it. This is the number of all the village elders. These are the businesses in the region. These are the safety concerns. This is how to set up the infrastructure. And of course, then they never did it. And then now it's just sitting there because everyone's too scared to invest in it. And if they're not too scared, they have no Taliban connections. So I guess I'm that guy. And even if it falls through, which, there's a good chance it will. It's a $200 million deal. I don't think I'm doing those casually anytime soon, So even if it falls through, it's like, wow, I tried. Why not?
Why do you think no one else has tried to do what you're doing? Is it just like the security?
Yeah, they have common sense. They realize they want to live. So they don't do what I do. You mean the gold mine, or do you mean the adventuring?
Kind of both, but the gold mine initially.
Well, the reason no one has done the gold mine is because it's very early on with the Taliban, so people don't really know what to do. And there's only one other mining company in England that actually has mining concessions in Afghanistan. The issue is the guy that has it is not wanted back in Afghanistan because apparently he was a spy. He got detained for being a spy and convicted of being a spy. So he's been arrested 2 or 3 times. So he's not exactly liked. And no one wants to be the first no one wants to be the first person to do something big in a new country because it's a big investment. If they want someone to look at and go, oh, this person made it and they're fine like us, so we're going to do the same thing now and copy them. So it's very good to be smarter than the other people, but it's one of a hell of a lot easier to be first in an industry, which makes sense. So the people I'm looking at right now are the Chinese. And the Chinese have done the Belt of Road initiative. And they were pressuring the Taliban saying, hey, we want all the mining rights. If anyone tries to come, just say it's not available. But then the Taliban now have said, actually, no, we just want to focus on the north. So now there's a market that's opened up. And at the same time, no one has actually got these connections. So if you're a US or, let's say, NATO-related mining company, you wouldn't be able to go to Afghanistan because you're related to either NATO or America in general, because, then you're screwed, because then they'll have some conflicts of interest and then you just wouldn't get mining concessions. And plus, big mining companies that would be able to get around that, well, they don't want to be seen doing business in Afghanistan because it's bad for their public image, or I think there's social, environmental and economic concerns with that type of stuff as well. They've got a weird scoring system for basically being a liberal as a company.
Yeah, the ESG shit.
Yeah, I despise that too. I mean, I do the opposite of ESG investing. I invest in the most offensive companies I can when I'm looking at my portfolio. I look at the lowest ESG scores and I think, yeah, that's it, because they just don't give a shit. That's good. No bureaucracy. So everyone's just waiting for something to happen right now. And then I decided to look at some other countries that were similar. So, for example, South Korea in the 60s, I think it was the 60s after the Korean War. No one dared invest in South Korea because it was a shit show. And then eventually it became, a great economic power. Same with Vietnam quite recently. No one wanted to invest in it, but then it became an enemy of China. And then the US was like, yeah, we're going to throw some money there. Now it's prospering quite well in some areas. Same with Afghanistan. I see a lot of potential there. So I feel like something could be done. And plus, you got to think of it as, what's the motivation of the other party? So the other motivation of the Taliban is to make some money. Now, obviously, if I do that work for them and pay taxes, yeah, why not? That's money making. That works. Everyone's happy. As long as I do it in a smart way where, I get reassurance that the gold mine remains mine, and plus we're opening the Afghanistan redevelopment fund, and trust me, opening a new fund to help a third world nation, that's good money, and plus that makes you very important in Afghanistan where you have no problems. So that always works too. And we're doing small things like that where we socially engineer ourselves and position ourselves, my friends and I, where we won't be touched, or at least we won't have any problems. Like the Chinese.
Yeah. And who like funds those type of things?
The gold mine, at the moment, well, we've got some institutional investors. Now, they want to remain anonymous until anything's signed. We're still working on things, so I have to go to Afghanistan, get some signatures, come back, show it to these people. They gawk at it, and then, they proceed from there. So these people are quite high up in the social chain, if that makes sense. They're kind of bougie people, quite rich. I've got one guy. I can't mention anything about him, but the only things actually no. Actually, I'll say one thing he did was 30 years ago. He taught the North Koreans accounting, which is something you casually do. So he basically just emailed me saying, "Hey Miles, I'm this guy. Google my name. I'm rich and bored, and I like what you've done. I'm gonna hook you up with some big investors in Europe and England. Hell yeah, we can make this work. I want a very small cut, but I'll just do it for fun because it seems cool." I'm like, yeah, and we met a few times, and he's solid, and he's got a proven track record. So I'm thinking, okay, these are my guys, and I can fulfill my end. They can fulfill what I've asked from them. So hopefully it works out. I mean, don't worry, it's not suddenly it's not a CIA Mossad agent sitting in the corner with a fake mustache going, "Oh, Mars, here's some black money. Here's a suitcase. Count it all if you want, and go and undermine the Chinese." Ooh, no, I wish, man. Someday.
Yeah, you gotta work your way up to that level.
Yeah,
Start
dude.
start start low. Then the Taliban. What is their take on the West as a whole? And like, I know in previous conversations and stuff that you've had, that you said you had a pretty good time during your detainee period. And so, one, just like, how'd you communicate with them? Was there a translator, or did they speak some English? And then overall, just like, what was the vibe that you got there?
Yeah, dude. So the top commander I was friends with, he was head of the entire province too. He spoke, I wouldn't say fluent English, but very good conversational English. So my accent kind of annoyed him, but he got used to it, and I got used to his. And then we always had a translator with us as well for him when we were speaking business or specialized language, which worked out quite well. And then when I was with the everyday grunts and the everyday Taliban in the house, they knew about 5 or 6 English words, but they made it work. They could make an entire speech out of that. I would completely understand it. It was like, those Mr. Bean episodes where it's like
Mm.
yeah, it was like that basically. So they would do kind of a goofy act. And at the end of the day, they're just boys. So they're just lads hanging out, goofing off a little bit. So I would be like, "Hey, give me the gun," and they'll be like, "Oh, are you sure?" I'm like, yeah, don't worry. And I would take it, and I would be like, and we would just run around, goof off. Like once in my room, I found a packet of matches, and then I picked up a bottle of, I think it was Lynx I bought, and I just held the match in front of the Lynx, and I started spraying it. And they've never seen that flamethrower type effect before, so they were like, "Ooh, that's pretty cool." So I chased them around the house with it. That was quite fun. Everyone thought I was being tortured and all that nonsense. It's never happened. I was just goofing off a little bit. I think there's some common language that most people understand. I think the younger ones are quite liberal too, in terms of their beliefs and openness to the world. Where the older ones are like, not a fan of the West, kind of cringe, Islam based. But the others are like, yeah, it's chill, man. They're like, yeah, it's man. I would work at a McDonald's 9 to 5 wagey job, just as long as I can do my religious stuff on the side for an hour a day. It's like, yeah, that's cool. So at the end of the day, they're very, very bubbly people, a little bit goofy, a little bit silly. They're not all that different. I think you could probably find more common ground than you would with a self-proclaimed liberal and Democrat in the West in America. When those YouTube channels go on college campuses and try and find common ground with these people, and they just freak out and just can't find
Mm-hmm.
anything. I would say the Taliban are more open to those people.
Wow,
Yeah, it's bizarre.
crazy, but I think you're probably right.
Yeah, dude. What do you think
That
of the Taliban then?
Well, I have no personal experience with him, so I don't know
Not yet.
too much. But I listened to your conversation with Marty a couple weeks back, and I think what you said, and I've traveled a bit. I spent 7 months down in South America last year,
Nice.
just exploring around and whatnot. And what you said there was just like, at the end of the day, people are people, and while we have different views and beliefs and religions and whatnot, at the same end of the day, we do have like a shared just underlying thing as being human, and they want to laugh and have a good time, and just like you said, be boys, have the lads be lads, and just about that. And whether that's in Afghanistan or South America or wherever, there is that kind of just underlying truth of what a human is and what we kind of want. And it's, just those kind of Maslow's basic hierarchy of needs of food, shelter, water, so on and so forth. I think at the
Totally.
end of the day, all humans have that kind of just basic hierarchy that we're all trying to satisfy.
Exactly, yeah. And I think most people need to lay out in their lives what exactly they want, exactly how they get it, if that makes sense. Like, very early on, I decided when I started doing this that, I want some sort of stupid, ludicrous business that I can open up in a third world country that will make me bank. And then I need to obviously travel to these types of nations. I need to make friends here. Then I still have this list as well. And I'm just fulfilling it now, even indirectly, just falling into it by accident. Like the gold mine. That happened by accident to some degree, but it's happening now. And the other stuff is just I've been ticking off consistently for the last 2 years. It's like my hierarchy of needs, I guess.
How'd you originally come across the gold mine? Like, how'd you even know that was there?
Well, I found this YouTube video saying, okay, there's $3 trillion of mineral reserves in Afghanistan. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. How much is in the Congo? And I'm like, the Congo has, what, 6 trillion? I thought, damn, the Congo is everyone's breadbasket for minerals in the West. And Afghanistan, it has a lot more infrastructure. It's a lot easier to navigate. I mean, it has the mountains, but it's way better than jungles and crocodiles and natives, like the DRC. So I thought, yeah, okay, I might as well check it out. And did some research, and I found out, oh, well, the US published all this data. And because I did statistical analysis as part of my degree, I was like, yeah, I'm going to run through this. And the numbers were absurd. I had to triple check them. And I was like, money, nice. I spoke to my friend who's doing a PhD as well, and he basically went through everything. He does chemistry, and he goes, I can help you with this. I've always wanted to do gold mining myself. And I go, you're shitting me. He goes, no. About a few years ago, I went on this autistic path of just watching gold mining videos on YouTube, and I have about half a year's worth of knowledge, and I can run you through everything. And we just started working on it because I thought, it's either working till you're 60 years old, using over 1/3 or 2/3 of your day just dedicated to wage slaving, living miserably, and they limit you greatly, and they obviously will limit your children that you have too, and obviously what type of lifestyle you can have in terms of money and quality of life. So I thought, if you open a gold mine, you would make millions a year, and I'm like, if I make more than 2 million, I could retire on that for life, easy. Just live off, let's say, S&P 500, I think it was like 9.12% annualized returns for the last 50 years. If you average it out, if you took out 5% a year, well, you're laughing. So I thought to myself, I could do that. I absolutely could. And why not? Worst comes to worst, I just always go back to a wagey job. So that's the option, really. That's how I reasoned it. I thought, might as well open a gold mine.
Where would you live if this all works out and you're just living off of royalties from the gold mine? Like, what would that ultimate plan be moving forward?
I need to do something very eccentric. I feel like I need to be very autistic in my decision. So I would have a house in Italy, a very small house in Rome, I believe, will be quite nice, or some seaside town, somewhere I can get to easily, I believe. And then somewhere in Argentina, because my German grandfather, did not learn his lesson in the 40s, so I'm guessing I always need a hideaway place, just in case. I also thinking Texas. So obviously Marty and Lewis have been to Texas and they live there now. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? It's a lovely place. I very much enjoyed it whilst I was there. I thought, there's so many people there that are doing this type of stuff and are really out there. And, I like the sun. England sucks a little bit. I would live there. Then I would also say just somewhere in either Nottingham or Scotland in England. Sorry, Scotland, so north of England, and then Nottingham in England. Because it's just we're near home and it's a generally nice area. But also I would consider buying my own island, just a very small island, and slowly developing it over like 2 years. Just changing the topography of it, building some infrastructure, becoming self-sufficient in some ways.
So Texas, Argentina, Italy, England, and an island.
Yes, and potentially several other places. Just everywhere at this point. I want a comically evil base in Antarctica as well. That would be nice.
Do you have any plans to go to Antarctica?
Hell yeah, absolutely, dude. It's going to be a big trip, that's the thing. Because if I want to do Antarctica, I want to do it correctly. So I want to walk the entire length of Antarctica just to find out what's out there. And just to say I walked the entire length of it because I was bored. Because I think that'd be quite funny. And plus, if you go there, you need so much equipment and you need a team with you, of course, because if one person falls ill or one person has problems, you need to consult someone. You're incredibly lonely. It's actually very quiet if there's no wind blowing too. So some people actually do go insane because it's so white, it's so clear, and there's no wildlife, there's nothing really going on. And I just really want to explore some of the caves seen in Antarctica. And you know those pyramid things you see pop up on X every once in a while, same as a pyramid hidden away in Antarctica. Obviously, I don't believe it's some sort of secret Mayan pyramid, but it would be just nice to go there and see what it actually is. I think it's just a rock. Fair enough, it's just a funny looking rock, but it'd be nice to dispel it, or just just to confirm it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, one way or the other. No fear.
Exactly.
Know the truth.
Where would you go if you could?
If I could go anywhere, I definitely want to do like Egypt, Jordan, that area.
Oh, dude, that's easy. Do it. Hell yeah.
Need to get on it for sure.
So what would you do in Egypt and Jordan? Just like go to the pyramids and go to the bazaar in Jordan, or?
Yeah, definitely check those places out. What I enjoyed about South America was just like getting into the culture, going to like small towns and shit, and just seeing how people live there. And like just my entire life, I'm 30, so for 20 or 31 for 30 years of my life I lived in Pennsylvania, and that's pretty much all I knew. And so getting out and just seeing something completely different was very eye-opening to me, and recognizing just how different the world is, but also at the same time, like I said earlier, how similar people are. And so just to see how other people live, what their culture is, what they care about, so on and so forth. And so South America, while obviously different, I still felt like it was kind of similar to the US in a sense, where the overall culture was like just slower, but kind of overall very Christian values and so on and so forth still, where something like the Middle East or Asia, definitely there's some places I want to check out in Asia as well, where the culture is very different just based off religion and stuff like that, and that's stuff I've really never experienced. And so just to see how that plays out.
That makes sense. I do love. I haven't been across the whole of South America, but I did love it in Brazil and Argentina as well. So I can relate to you on that. And it's a beautiful area, isn't it? I mean, I imagine Pennsylvania is not too bad, but the heat down there, the tropical waters, the greenery, the birds, the nature, it's just stunning.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. I did three months in Argentina. So beautiful. Did Patagonia for a month, hiked through there.
Nice.
Amazing.
See, I'm jealous of that. I need to do Patagonia. That's gonna be incredible. You can show me around at some point. When I'm walking around England, you've got these modern new builds that are more expensive than the older houses, even though they just are ugly and they're smaller and they just suck in general. The build quality is terrible. I mean, I look at the sky and it's grey. It's never blue. It's grey, always grey. And if we're lucky, it's clear, but then it rains because it's a paradox. This entire country is, and then we get hardly any sunlight. It's windy, and the food's crap. And there's no real positive culture in the UK. It's all collapsed, unfortunately. And there's some nature. There's some nice areas, but there's no real soul to the country anymore outside the countryside. So I feel like going to these countries is kind of an escape almost.
Why do you think the UK lacks soul?
Immigration. Instantly, yeah. I've got to admit, if I walk down this place called Leicester or Birmingham or London, I'd walk around and I could convince myself I was back in Afghanistan 100%. Like, you don't see a British person in Leicester for about 10 minutes when you step off the train, or if you're walking. They say it's only about 20% are foreign born or non-white, and I completely disagree. It's not true whatsoever. Actually, maybe all the Western people are working, so they're not outside. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes more sense. No, I just don't like it. You don't feel safe. People are just delinquents. There's trash everywhere. I don't understand too. These people were born in the country, but I can't understand a word they're saying. And that's coming from me with a terrible accent. And you don't hear English for a good while as well. And I just look around, I think, what happened to my country, man? It's like, I need some revitalization there. So sometimes I would go to very poor places in the UK and not live there, but I would spend extended time there. And it'd be a lot better, because even though everyone's really struggling, you could go there and feel completely safe because it's a very tight-knit community and everyone gets on. And everyone's super friendly. So if I go right to the village next door for me, everyone opens a door for you, everyone talks to you, everyone's smiling, the old people don't clutch their bag when you walk by, that type of stuff. And I think that's incredible to see, and that's what it used to be like. When I watch old-timey videos showing England, the 60s and 70s, it showed that type of community and humour and just had a good life, which I kind of miss. I could deal with the grey, miserable skies I see outside and the terrible architecture if it was still English. And it makes me very sad, man. I think if some great British explorers like T. Lawrence were here nowadays, they would cry or they would just leave.
Do you think your view of the UK is how most people view it? Or do you think you're in the minority in that sense?
Well, I am kind of a minority nowadays. Hell. No, anyway, yeah. So most people view it like that. I don't understand. No one actually voted and said, yeah, man, we should have like mass immigration. Yeah, that's totally something I want. Just something politicians do nowadays. I think, what's the point of having a politician in a democracy, if you can't pick an option? If all the options are just cringe that no one wants, well, clearly that democracy needs to go. At some point, that's what the Americans are built on. Just why are our taxes so high, and why are the British screwing us over? Yeah, we're gonna screw out, get the British out and set up our own country. That's hence how America was born. Like, great country that is. But England is just, everyone's lazing around, everyone's watching it slowly crumble because everyone's very comfortable with too much fatty food in their stomach and all this other stuff. So everyone moans about it and everyone thinks it. But no one does anything about it, dude. It sucks so much. At the same time, the immigrants moan about England too. I'm like, my dude, you came here. It's like, you came here and you get free stuff. And your country's in a civil war right now. Your country has like a 40% poverty rate. Why are you moaning? Why are you talking about food being bland? Like, at least we have food in that country. Ridiculous. Like, our food's not bland. It's just you don't know how to season, like, with British food because you're not British. It gets worse and worse. And I just look at these people and I just think, there's not a cognitive link with these individuals. I just need to leave and go somewhere safer and nicer, like Somalia.
Where everybody goes for a holiday, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's got more Christians nowadays anyway. I feel like
What do you think you know about the world that most people don't from traveling to the places that you travel to?
we are incredibly lucky in the West to have our little utopian communities where we can actually have free speech and do what we want. Most people, especially I don't want to say white women, but it's like us traveling white women, 20-year-old influencers go, oh my god, I traveled around the world, and like I found myself, and like I realized too, it's really expanded my mind and opened me up to new ideas. Hell no, it's closed myself to so many ideas. I become more based from traveling, if that makes sense. Like at the end of the day, you look at some countries, and some countries just suck. It's not great culture. It's not something different. Those countries just are stupid. They should not exist. I have no idea how things are kept together. I feel like it's a giant money laundering scheme. Most people aren't happy. Most people are being oppressed by their own government. There's so many simple things that just aren't being done. I feel like if I was put as president of a country with a loyal people below me on the pyramid, I could solve a lot of problems if I just had complete power. Because then I could pretty much, it's like most African nations. You look at Kenya and you think, oh geez, I wonder why this sucks right now. It's a Mr. Beast goes down, he sets up like 90 wells, 100 water wells, and they're just scratching their heads like, oh, that's bad. How did he do that? Some things are very simple to do, but it's just so much bureaucracy. It takes too long. So that's one thing I was thinking about. Especially in America when I visited, it was amazing, dude. It was so good. Like I know there's some dodgy areas like Philly and California and all that other stuff.
Well,
But
Philly's hometown. Be careful.
yeah, hometown's
But
good.
you're not wrong.
But
But you're not
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. It's not always sunny in Philadelphia though. That was one of my favorite TV shows, and I went there seeing like people in the streets. I was like, ooh, it's really nice. But at the same time, it's like, oh, dude, it's as long as it's not one of those other nations that just suck at the end of the day. We are incredibly lucky to have our systems that we have and the type of comfort and freedoms that we have right now. And I would do everything to protect it from outside influence and degradation like the Japanese have done. The Japanese have said, yeah, no immigration, and things have remained very well over there. Yeah, they've got their own problems, but it's bloody good. You know? Honestly, I would say live like an average South Sudanese man for like a month and then come back to the West and tell me it sucks. Because we built everything.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That
Yeah, dude.
one of the biggest takeaways from my travel is just how goddamn lucky we are
Yeah, dude.
in the West. You know, I enjoyed my time in every country that I went to. I went to Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia. But
Oh, Colombia. Oh,
if you think about all five of those countries, Argentina, and currencies getting inflated away,
yeah.
tenfold every single day.
It's a national joke. What's it called Argentina is Argentinian banking. It's got like most. I think the US is AA or AAA rated, and then Argentina is like B minus C, which is just like worse than what Somalia or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps collapsing every few years. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Bolivia, I think they've had 183 presidents and 186 years of like freedom. Peru, whenever I was in Peru, the president was getting overthrown by Congress and there was riots all throughout the country. Ecuador, they've had, just their household number of problems as well. Then Colombia, we all know the issues that Colombia has had throughout the years.
Yeah. I mean, did you ever have this in Colombia when you go up to like a shop to buy something and they look at you like, oh, geez, I have to get up and scan this and accept the money? You're making me do work? Ah, geez, man. They're just, I don't want to say they're so lazy, but it's like, got a weird mindset, haven't they? Of just everything's screwed up and they don't want to lift a finger. And everyone just wants government to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so it's like that. Again, those 5 countries that I was at in 8 months, like each of them has a very kind of serious problem with them, and like those 5 countries aren't alone. And again, like I enjoyed my time there, and the overall majority of people there were great.
Were amazing,
yeah, we're great, but like
government sucks.
Yeah, government has the ability to just steal from them and just do whatever they please, and that could easily happen in the West if we're not comfortable, or if we're not careful, and if we're not cautious about the things that are taking place. And it is kind of a scary route that we are going down with, the beliefs that a lot of people have in the West nowadays.
Oh yeah, it's like when you saw people on TikTok speaking about Bin Laden's speech, his letter to the West, I think, and they're like, "Wow, so true." And these people are the most easily manipulated retards in the world. If you just throw around words around like oppressed and globalism and all this other stuff, he flew 2 buildings into Twin Towers. It's like he's not exactly the fun-loving philosopher, good-meaning guy that all the TikTokers are talking about. It's insane how easily people are manipulated, and how quickly that can change an entire system and a way of life of the world.
Yeah, seeing those over the past couple of days has been insane. Like you said, just like Bin Laden, obviously a very bad guy, but you see a letter from him that says colonizer and U.S. is this and that, and oppresses people in the Middle East, and then people are just like, oh yeah, like
What's so
we
wrong
are
about being a
bad.
colonizer? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like people just want to find problems so they can find something to fight against. If that makes sense, if they just have a boring 9 to 5 life, and then they find something they can get behind, and they win the easy movement because it's a BS movement, but they win. And when they win, they feel like they've gone through some sort of process where they've struggled for something in quotations, and then they win, and they feel really good about themselves. So it's just kind of a circle jerk. And that's kind of, I don't want to say Westerners nowadays, but a good portion.
Yeah. Do you think there's any validity behind like the belief that China pushes this type of content
Yeah,
to spread that mindset
I
around the West?
I can see that. I can see that being true, because think about it. Imagine you're the CCP and you want to become the global superpower, the sole one, and you want to push the US down one peg. And you control the flow of information on TikTok and some other um, big social medias. You would do that. I would. If I was China, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm going to spread misinformation and undermine people. I think there was a document released and an interview from the 70s showing a Soviet man who defected to the US, and he was saying, yeah, I was on the board of trying to undermine US democracy by spreading this type of fear and hate and whatever. In the long run, the only way the US will fall is making it fall internally, and so on. And he was just saying, yeah, this is our plan. So the Soviets have that plan, the Chinese definitely do. But I feel like every major player in the world has a sort of plan like that for the other country. But
Yeah.
it seems like the Chinese are being more aggressive.
Yeah, there's no way that, the
Yeah.
US isn't doing the same thing to other countries, and far from, the innocent kid on the block. But it is
Yeah,
scary
dude.
how easily people can be influenced to completely just sympathize with a crazy cause.
Yeah, I don't understand the whole sympathy of this type of thing, and I think most people just need to go back to the basic lifestyle of not having the internet. I think that would fix a lot of problems, because most people would live in a small community, tight-knit community, where everyone would kind of know each other or know someone through someone, and then they would work to elect a local mayor or a local leader. And a person would do quite well, and they would know what the community needs, and they would, they would never think about contacting Washington or commenting about the US president, never commenting about them. Yeah, they would watch debates and stuff and vote for their person, but they would never think, oh, we need to do X, Y, Z and storm the Capitol, and or we need to destroy Biden, or we need to destroy Trump or whatever. And I feel like those people in those small communities would obviously just care about the community, and everything will look after themselves. But now everyone's a global politics expert, and everyone thinks they can solve everything. I can though. I can, because I'm Lord Miles, but they can't. That's a funny thing. I just don't know how to deal with these people nowadays. I look at them and I think you're too anxious to you're too anxious to accept a phone call, and you Uber Eats like twice a week or 3 times a week, and you don't know how to cook, and you're scared to go outside half the time, and you wore a mask during COVID, I don't imagine you leading anything. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah, I
one you
just
want to follow. That's for
yeah,
damn sure.
exactly. I mean, I'm guessing in your travels you came across some very bad people there, occasionally.
Throughout South America, you're
Yeah, there's
saying?
got to be the occasional person.
Yeah, yeah. Occasional. I never got was robbed or anything, but met plenty of people who were, especially in
Yeah.
Colombia, and definitely a few sketchy characters. That's just, one of the first times I got to Colombia, I was walking around Cali. That was the first city I went to, and just kind of like not really thinking about where I am, and I'm just like find myself walking down the street and just like looking around. I was like, this probably isn't an area that like I should really be in as a gringo by myself with speaking very minimal Spanish. But it is just a very eye-opening experience to, again, just the realities of the world where, like, yeah, the U.S. isn't great. There's a lot of dangerous spots, but all in all, pretty damn comfortable here to compare to the other.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine growing up there because if you grow up there with ambitions, most likely you'll be beaten down. You know, it's
Yeah,
like there's no real escape or channel, or you just get messed up through the whole process. You know, you get used or controlled, or you have to go down some dodgy routes. There's no channels for you to actually grow. It's not good. It's like I always speak to a bunch of North Koreans that have defected. I have this thing where I just randomly DM them because they always become famous in South Korea, and my South Korean friends link me up occasionally. I always speak to them, and they would always say they always had a dream of becoming XYZ thing as a child, but it was impossible to do in these nations because it was so difficult. And these people have a work in mind, the work ethic to do it. You know, they really are limitless in their potential, but it's just they did not have time because they were working 12 to 16 hours a day in the fields to help their family, or they just didn't offer it because the government controlled all that and they said, nope, you can't become a painter. You can't paint you can never paint. You can never paint, not for 10 minutes a day. You always have to sing the Kim Jong Un song or whatever. And it makes me sad because there's a lot of people in the world who could become brilliant, who could be incredible people, but now they're just average in life. It's such a tragedy to see.
yeah, they never get the opportunity to fulfill that potential that they potentially have.
Yeah, exactly. And most of those people now are the ones robbing people in Colombia or, just in the slums of Brazil or something like that. That sucks. But what can you do?
But speaking of Colombia, your next adventure is the Darien Gap. Is that
Oh,
correct?
no, that's one of the next ones. But the one I'm going on in about a week. So I'm flying back to Afghanistan. And I'm meeting up with the Taliban commander, and I'm going to some ministers and meeting some people for the gold mine. I'm going to make a few YouTube videos. And what I'm going to do with a friend of mine is buy a car in Afghanistan, the worst car I can find for like $600. And then I'm going to fill it with Taliban merch because you can't ship it out of the country. And then I'm going to drive from Afghanistan to Pakistan, then basically pay a cargo boat off the books, a few $100s, and get them to take me to Oman, then Oman to Yemen, Yemen to Saudi, Saudi to Iraq. I go through Iraq and then go to Turkey, and then instead of going from Turkey to Europe, go through Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, loop back around again to Turkey, and then just drive all the way back to England, and then sell the merch online, make a nice little YouTube video from that. And then after that, Darien Gap as well, as
How
you do.
long is that trip's gonna be?
I think it might be a lifetime if it goes wrong. But I'm hoping about 1 month maximum. That's what I'm hoping. But worst comes to worst, we can make it a little bit of a quicker route. This is more of a kind of a scenic route, because I don't have an excuse to go to Yemen at the moment. So I thought, oh yeah, so I'll pass through it. If that makes sense. And I would go through Iran instead. However, there's been a lot of kidnappings with Iran, and I'm not risking it over there.
Then does the British government reach out to you like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, chill the fuck
Yeah,
out?
yeah. I pop into the MI6 office. They're like, Miles, we need you to. No. But no. So occasionally they've called me and they've said, like, Miles, you just came back from this. If you need any counselling, if you need any help, you're safe here. And I go, what are you talking about? I'm Lord Miles. I'm going on another holiday soon. They never really. They've still contacted me recently. They were like, oh, if you want to talk to us about your conditions in Afghanistan, I said, they were good. You heard the phone calls I gave to you. You gonna pay me for my transport? I don't care. Like, what's it gonna do? Bye. So when I got back from Afghanistan, I was flown to Dubai with a few other people that were detained, and they held me and said, "You're safe. Do you need anything right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, plane ticket to Israel. I heard things are popping off over there. Get me to Tel Aviv instantly." And they were like, "No, we need to debrief you. We need to go through your electronic devices. We need to do all this other stuff." I was like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine, but can you get me another flight out?" And they were amazed by that. So like, you spent 8 months in detention. Do you want to see your friends? And I was like, yeah, but that can wait. I can call them anytime. Like, I was chatting to them in Afghanistan, so they're chill with that. So yeah, the British government, they're a little bit perplexed, but I've been interviewed at airports outbound from England, so I've been detained by counterterrorism, and they wanted to check me out, and then they found Bibles in my bag and nothing on my phone. They were like, bit weird, but fair enough, I guess. It makes money. Like, it's a business. This is new for us because you do like a million different things, but we're cool with it. You haven't done anything wrong. You're free to go, dude. Just we're gonna keep an eye on you. Just you're fine. Whatever. So that's cool.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But
I'm guessing you didn't get stopped coming back from South America. Not as a drug smuggler or something.
no, can't say I did. They just let me through customs without
Exactly.
any extra questions.
All good. The other cartels just kind of gave a good word for you and threatened them, and you was let through. Yeah,
they
dude.
paid through for me.
Yeah,
So
Narco Nick. Yeah,
exactly, had the suitcase full of a blow and got through
exactly.
no problems. So all good on my front.
Good man. That's why you're so energetic, dude. Yeah.
Exactly. But Miles, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I've been following you for a while now, and I really enjoy your content. So to pick your brain a little bit about everything that you got going on is super fun, and I think you're a super interesting dude. And what I said earlier about just, I think you're very thoughtful about the stuff that you do as well, even though it is pretty damn crazy. I think that, like, it's not just because you're completely retarded. You might be
Just slightly.
a little,
Just slightly.
yeah, just a little.
Yeah, just a tad, just a smidge, just a silly, goofy goober, just a silly, whimsical fella. Yeah. Ooh.
We all need a little bit of that. Makes life more fun. And
Yeah, dude. That's how I put it.
So if people want to check out more of your stuff, like I said, a lot of my people who listen might not know who you are previously before this. So if they want to check out more of your stuff, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, of course. So my coordinates are. I've done that a few times actually, but people actually do turn up to my house. Ooh. So I would say just search Lord Miles on X, on Twitter or X, and search it on Instagram too. So I've got quite a few followers on both at the moment. And if you want to search my YouTube too, I'm going to be uploading Vice-style documentaries on there, which is going to be great. We've got a videographer. It's going to be high quality. It's going to be very good. My videos have started popping off recently too. I'd love to document my adventures. And if you also want to, look at my Patreon, that has some good perks. So you get to see my exclusive trips. Please, I need money. Please give me money. Thanks. Give me money. Thanks, guys. And yeah, just if I'm in a war zone, or if you're all anywhere near one, come and visit. I'm probably gonna be there as well. You can meet me in real life, and we can die together. Inshallah.
Love it, man. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on, and I'll have all that linked in the show notes below so people can easily find you.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for watching, guys.